All right, you're here, and we're going to talk about my project going forward, which begins with a Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter is called The Wizard of Bronze, Find Bronze Talismans and Art Pieces. And so what I'll be doing is raising funds to produce these really cool talismans in bronze. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's have a look. All right. So here is me working on the Thoth sculpture. The real purpose of this project is ultimately to produce the Thoth sculpture. And I'll talk about why that's important as we go through this presentation. But in and of itself, it's a epic, beautiful, intricate, symbolic piece with multiple components that will be detachable from it, not as part of the finished project, but there'll be elements of it that can be taken and done as individual pieces, and that's what I'm raising money for. Now, there is a pledge tier that applies to the entire piece itself, but that's a very high and quite frankly a pretty pricey tier. So that's the thing about bronze. Bronze is not cheap. So let's have a look at what I've got to offer and why it is a really solid investment to get in on this Kickstarter right now. Okay, so, who am I? What's my story? I am Peter Duchemin. I have a doctorate in philosophy, religious studies, and sociology. That being said, I operate way more as an artist than as an academic. I could say that my dissertation ended up being more of a creative manifesto than a piece of analytic work, even though there was a lot of research and a lot of reading and a lot of analysis. At the end of the day, the focus was on moving forward and creating um, magical modalities. And I developed a method that I call meta magic because it's a way of thinking about magic from the point of view of the contemporary. So it's not a reconstructionist magic. It's a magic of creating ideas that really fit into where we are now as a species, on the brink of who knows what. Is it galactic exploration? Is it apocalypse? We don't know. We're in this liminal space. I'm an artist, a magician, and a scholar, and I'm fascinated not just with researching these ideas, but to take part in this moment in humanity creatively and intellectually and spiritually. I am a kung fu player. I play the form. I, I play the style called Hong Gar, which I learned while I was in well, I lived in Hong Kong. I lived there for 8 years, and this style does actually well, Kung Fu in general, as a spiritual and a physical and a martial path, pertain to what I'm doing here because in addition to making magical items, traditionally, I would say, identifiable as magical, I'm also creating Kung Fu weapons. So this is as part of this Kickstarter. So you can pledge for talismans, you can pledge for these beautiful, beautiful antiqued, really exceptional weapons to practice your Kung Fu if you practice a Chinese style of martial art. So I invent calendars. This is really what came out of my work in the PhD and of the last uh, 20, 20 years is I have developed 10 key calendars. One of them, in fact, is the Fairy Dog calendar, which was commissioned by Dr. Scott Jeffrey up in Scotland. And so he champions that right now, and he's doing some really interesting work. But basically, the idea is a magical calendar is a way of shaping time, and it's a type of time machine. And so I have been doing these for 20 years, and I've built one for every planet in the solar system. And during this Kickstarter, I want to make one of my counting boards. So the Thoth sculpture is in fact a counting board. What's a counting board? It's a special device that allows you to track a celestial movement. In this case, it is Mercury. The Thoth statue is also a Mercury calendar that tracks the orbit of Mercury. So this is the real heart of this project. We're going to be creating these pieces so that we can fund the production of this epic, epic Thoth statue. All right. So my thesis was called "The Art of Hidden Causation," and I talked about all this stuff. I came up with novel ideas, and one of the things I ended up doing after I graduated is starting to teach tarot. I run a course called the Meta Magic Tarot that can be purchased from Perseus Arcane Academy and also followed live with me. It's based on one of my magical calendars, and it tracks the tarot through the course of the orbit of Venus. Um, and yeah, I lived in Hong Kong for 8 years, and towards the end of that, I was doing all this calendar work, but I still didn't have a plan in place for making this information last a long time. Calendars are all about the long game. Calendar magic is all about telling stories that can be retold for thousands of years. And a series of synchronicities involving finding a bronze statue led me to an apprenticeship in Nanchang in China, the largest art foundry in the world. I got to go up there and produce one of my calendars. This is it right here, actually. This is a parapegma for the fairy dog calendar. This is solid bronze. This is going to last for thousands of years. I carved this out of wood, and then we put it through the bronze casting process. I was so engaged with this process that I decided this is this is where I've got to go. And lo and behold, synchronicities led me back to my hometown of St. John's, um, where I lived for many years and where my family's from. And lo and behold, there was a foundry here. The largest foundry east of Ontario happens to be in St. John's, and I started to work here. So I am now a sculptor and a foundry technician. And what we're looking at here is my first major output uh, of sculptural works. And this is what I'm asking you to help me fund. The costs are, of course, the bronze and other materials such as silicone and wax and ceramic. So this is to cover material costs, and so I can produce my first inventory as well as the Thoth statue. So let's move on here. Here's some of the things I'm doing. So this is the Tablet of Union from the Enochian magical system. I'll be producing Enochian tablets. The goal here is to create a inventory in bronze, and I've set the goal rather low financially. It's 10,000 is what I'm trying to raise now. If I make more, if there's enough interest, if people want to invest in this stuff, then I've priced it so that it's worth my time to produce as much as is desired. I don't expect a huge volume, but if I have 100 people who want some really cool bronze work, I will fulfill those orders, and we'll make some magic happen. Um, from there, I intend to leverage the sculptures produced. So there'll be sculptures produced to deliver to my backers, and then I'll produce some more for myself, which I will then sell at a higher rate later. So you really are getting the best deal you're ever going to get on my work. When I sell them later, I'll use that to leverage doing more sculptures and so on, because I have a mission to make 10 epic calendrical sculptures, and I'm starting right here with Mercury. Okay, so here we have the big picture. Within 2 to 5 years, I want to have a full-on studio that's self-sustaining that allows me to produce these works. Here we have examples of some of my counting boards. These are parapegmas. That's the classic name for a calendar counting board. This is one I carved out of wood. This is for Mercury. It's a serpent. This one is a prototype for the counting board for all 10 of the calendars. So there's lots of different possibilities here. Um, I may need to revise this. It's a complex piece, but you move pegs through these little holes and you can use it to track the entire system, which is a pretty extensive magical system. Here we can see my parapegma for the fairy dog calendar, and every hole here represents part of the count. So when you know what you're doing, you can track the calendar using this device. But why bronze? Well, more than just the obvious reason, which is bronze lasts a really long time, bronze is intrinsically linked to magic. So the roots of bronze working come from these uh, metallurgical cults that would center around volcanoes, cults to gods such as Hephaestus. And there was a group called the Idaean dactyls. They said there were 10 of them in ancient Greece. And they were the dactyls means the hand men, the men of the hand, the fingers. And so there was said to be 10 of these craftsmen, master craftsmen magicians. What I've discovered, partly from reading Jake Stratton Kent and partly from doing my own work, is that before Hermes, the scribe god, was the god of magic, gods such as Hephaestus and possibly Yod-He Vav-He were were foundry and forge gods, and they were the gods of magic at the dawn of the Bronze Age, which essentially is what sparked what we now think of as civilization. And I certainly acknowledge traditions that predate bronze, certainly the fairy faith and other indigenous spiritualities connect to an even deeper and older tradition. But the Bronze Age essentially sparked a lot of what we now recognize as the societies we dwell in, and perhaps the patriarchal age, the age of conquest. There's certainly an element of king making in bronze, right? They had to keep these methods secret because they could create statues and they could create weapons. And so if they didn't have a really robust way of keeping these things secret, then they could easily be captured and tortured. And so these bronze priests developed the mystery traditions, the mystery schools, to keep their work secret and also to consolidate themselves around this practice. So they were able to um, present themselves as magicians, which is exactly what they were. And bronze was a fundamentally and is a fundamentally magical practice. In fact, the metaphors that we can draw from the bronze casting process, which involves creating molds and pouring a liquid fire into them, these metaphors are found throughout the Western esoteric traditions, and especially in the Neoplatonic derived ideas of emanation, right? The one emanates the mind, emanates the soul, emanates the body, or the Kabbalistic tree of life, which from this point of view is essentially a mold. The Ein Sof, or the light of the limitless, flows through the Sephirot, the chambers of the mold, and eventually crystallizes in the spirit of the adept. So bronze is magic, and that is why we're working in bronze. This is an ephemeral age, an age of um, superficial ideas and memes, but at its core, there is a movement towards depth and profundity and to create stories that will last for millennia. And I take some inspiration from Hermann Hesse's Magister Ludi in this respect. So I want to make works that last, that carry a voice through the ages. This is what I'm looking for you to help me fund. Here's the bronze nuggets that are going to be the ingots that are going to be melted down and poured into the molds. And this is an example of one of the pieces that I'm making. So you could own this. It's approximately yay high. It has a wand, um, has a weight and heft and power to it. Solid bronze tree of the Sephiroth. And so why magic? This may seem like a fairly obvious question, but I live and breathe and think magic. I've studied it all my life. And what do I think it is? I think it is the pressure of art brought to bear on time, which means essentially creativity directed to the experience of truth in the world is fundamentally magical. And the systems are nothing more than prisms that amplify or leverage this creativity. But at core, magic is art and art is magic. And I want to cite Alan Chapman's quite remarkable and interesting, and I think evolved definition of magic as the science, art, and culture of experiencing truth. And I would agree with him in that. So it's like this: magic creates stories, and stories creates worlds. And so we can make the world better. We can make the world more expressive, more natural, more authentic by creating magically. It, in a sense, is nothing other than the universal function to express itself, to create magically. And so, Kung Fu, that's the other key thread in all of this. Um, my demographics are magicians, artists, art collectors, and Kung Fu practitioners. So, one of the things that these weapons has going for it is they're heavy, right? These are bronze. They're beautiful and they're heavy. I wouldn't use them in a fight with another weapon because bronze had a habit of chipping. So when the Iron Age developed out of the Bronze Age, the alloys involved created much more flexible and lighter weapons. But when you're practicing Kung Fu, having a nice heavy weapon actually helps the process of training the body. So in Hung Gar, we often have rings. So we'll practice with these really heavy rings on our arms. And so heavy weapons is a really good way to condition the body. So I want to put that out there for those who are coming at this from the Kung Fu angle and thinking, okay, well, why should I invest in it? Because they're beautiful, and you can go to tournaments with them, and you can train with them, and they will last for thousands of years. And okay, so here's the juicy stuff. What are you going to get if you pledge to me? So there's all sorts of tiers. We know this is a Kickstarter campaign. Uh, the lowest tier, well, we won't say lowest, but your basic tier is postcards. So the price, I'm going to send you a postcard. Write it out. I'm going to take a photo of a finished piece and I'm going to send you a postcard. Um, I'm asking for a backing of $50. $50 may seem steep for a postcard, but I'm assuming that the people who are really in it for the idea of this project, but maybe they can't afford to invest in a major bronze piece, they want to help me make a donation. I'll send you a postcard card, and it'll have it'll have my energy in it, and it'll have pictures of these works. So as you can see, there's non-bronze tiers and bronze tiers. The bronze tiers are going to be expensive because bronze is expensive. So what's next? Readings. I do tarot readings. I'm known for my tarot readings. People come from all over the place for me to read tarot for them. I am less of a fortune teller and more of a conversationalist and a wisdom oriented Kabbalistic tarot reader. And if you've had a reading with me, you know that my style is very much about empowerment and finding paths to greater expression and freedom. So this is what I do. I've read professionally all over the world, and I am offering readings, both 60-minute and 90-minute readings, at a considerably reduced rate. Normally, I charge $100 an hour. So $100 for a 60-minute, $150 for a 90-minute session. And here you're able to get a voucher for as many readings as you want. I think there's a limit in the Kickstarter, but um, you can get 5 vouchers. You can gift some to your friends. But the main thing is they're going to be at a cheaper rate than you'd normally get a reading from me. So $88 for 1 hour, $111 for 90 minutes. And finally, the last of the non-bronze tiers is paintings. I make paintings. I make abstract ink paintings, and you can see some examples um, coming up in the next couple slides. And so I am selling both small and large expressive abstract ink paintings. And so again, you're not going to get a better deal on my work than in this Kickstarter. I'm really at the beginning of my unfolding, if you will, in terms of my project. So I think that now is the time, if you want to get a piece from me, now is the time that they're going to be most affordable, I would say. Um, all right, so finally, here's the bronze. What am I making? I'm making amulets like the Tree of Life and the Sator Square. I'm making a wand, a Tree of Life wand. I'm making a big um, altarpiece, Sator Arepo Tenet Opera Rotas Square. Then I'm starting to make large pieces. The labyrinth is hefty. The Chartres labyrinth of 11 circuits, it's about 12 inches across. It is a big block of bronze. It's going to be about 13 pounds of bronze, and it's going to be beautiful and patinaed. And you can put it on your altar. You can trace it with your finger, and you can peek right through the hole in the center. There's all sorts of sacred geometries that can be discovered from this object. It has a labyrinth on both sides. So if you study it, you will discover some mysteries. Um, and the Enochian watchtowers, there are 5 watchtowers, 4 for the elements and the tablet of union. These are corrected from the blinded versions. These are following the corrections made by David Allen Hulse. This is a fascinating system, and those who know. These objects can be placed on your altar, they can be placed in your circle. These are powerful and fascinating examples of Elizabethan era cryptography and angelic magic. And we have the Kung Fu weapons, both the deer horn knives and the twin daggers. Um, we're looking at the prices for these from the labyrinth on up are all over $1,000. And I realize this means that there won't be a lot of backers, but if you know, you know. So there are some people out there who I think would love to hold a set of these deer horn knives in their hands, would love to have a set of these Enochian watchtowers, and maybe they're in a position to make this investment, and maybe they see um, the big picture of this Kickstarter, where I'm going with this, and they decide that this is a way that they can get involved and help me bring this um, magical gift that I've been given to the world for the ages. And that brings us to the Epic Thoth statue itself, which I've spoken of previously. It is a Mercury calendar. It is full of symbols. It has most of these other components embedded in it. So let's have a look at this stuff. Here's the tarot readings. You can see on the right is a deck that I made myself. I've made several decks. So I love to read tarot, and I'd love to read your tarot. Here are some examples of my ink paintings. You can see that I work with a combination of controlled and fluid forms. I also enjoy the Oriental aesthetic, and I invite you to invest in a painting. Here we have the Sator Repotinet Opera Rotas Square, 4-way palindrome, and on the back it has a magic circle with the tarot palindrome on it. This is an excellent little talisman that you can set up to face the four directions and can operate as a grounding anchor for magical and meditative work. Here we have the work in progress, the Chartres Labyrinth. This has paths carved out on both sides and a peephole in the middle. And finally, last but not least, we are looking at the Epic Thoth statue. This is the Mercury calendar. You can see that he's holding the Sator square. He's got the Tree of Life wand in his hand. He's got a lemniscate on his head. He's sitting on an Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail. He's got the solar and lunar emblems projecting from his respective centers, and and there's all sorts of other hidden details. For example, on the back we have the tetractys of the Decad as well as the emblem of the Hebrew letter Shin. And last but not least, we got to talk about the challenges because nothing like this is easy. So once the Kickstarter launches and the pledges start coming in, I'm going to be working on the logistics of getting these pieces finished and to you. Now, certain things can come right away. So the postcards will have to wait till some of the pieces are finished, but the readings will be available from the moment that the campaign, or maybe a week after the campaign successfully concludes, to 2 years afterwards. So what I'm going to do is mail out the vouchers at that time, and you can contact me and schedule a reading based on each of the vouchers that you've purchased. And the logistics, the logistics of scheduling will be taken care of on a first come, first serve basis. The logistics of shipping are going to be a bit more complicated because bronze is heavy, and depending where you are in the world, it may be easier or more difficult to get the piece to you. So what we have to do is have a conversation. If you are investing in a big bronze piece, especially the Thoth statue, we're going to need to find out where you are and what it's going to cost uh, in the early stages. So if you've pledged, if you just had to pledge $12,000 to for the Thoth statue, we're going to have a conversation and we're going to figure out how to get this to you. And that might mean that I will take a plane and I will bring it to your door and we can sit down and have tea and talk about it. Because I realize that that this is a pretty high value commodity, and I'm very serious about making sure you get it. Um, I expect I expect to make the acquaintance of everyone who buys bronze from me. It doesn't have to happen if you don't want to meet me, but I want to talk to you because you're in it for a reason. You're here, you're helping me, but you're also investing in a piece of magical history. And so this is not a small thing. These pieces are not cheap, and they are of deep value both to me and to the to my backers. So I'm going to be there to have that conversation to make sure they get to you, and that issues such as duty, taxes, and shipping are taken care of. But we are going to charge those after the campaign. So your pledge is also going to your pledge is going to secure you the piece, but you're going to have to pay the shipping afterwards. And but we can talk about that. We can work what out. We can get a really close estimate um, in conversation. So don't hesitate to contact me. Basically, here are the challenges. Scheduling readings bronze casting and defects. Of course, there's lots of challenges involved in bronze casting itself, but I have training as well as I'm working with experts in a professional foundry. I'm making all this stuff myself. This is this is not being shipped out to some neutral people. This is my hands are on it every step of the way. The sculpture, the wax, the ceramic, the the metal finishing, every step of the way, and I'm working with experts. So we're going to be able to avoid the the kinds of problems that you would have in casting. And we're going to make sure that these are really beautiful, really well done pieces. And so, yeah, and so shipping. So scheduling readings, bronze casting, defects, and shipping. Those are the challenges, and the answers are vouchers for the readings, expertise for the casting, and of course, talk to me, and we're going to work out the shipping. We're going to get it. We're going to get you a good quote for where you are and for the size of the piece you're investing in. And finally, the next step, I'd like you to check out my pre-launch page. We're not launching quite yet. I've decided to delay the launch, and we're going to launch it at a time when the energy is right. I feel like right now, I was about to do it, but right now the energy is not quite right. I want to raise some more energy, raise some more enthusiasm. So check out the pre launch page and follow me. Follow me there, and you will be notified when it launches. And there's going to be lots more stuff coming out. I'm going to do podcasts, I'm going to be talking about this quite a bit. So follow me, keep your eyes on the Kickstarter, and when it comes up, make a pledge. Give me a call. Write me an email. We'll have a conversation, and we'll make magic happen. Here's my website, peterducheminphd.com. Have a look. There's all sorts of stuff on that, and awesome. I'm glad you are interested in bronze magic, and thank you for joining me on this adventure in meta magical history. See you on the other side.